Finland has been ranked as the happiest country in the entire globe for 7 years running according to the World Happiness Report's annual survey. Finland, with a score of 7.741, ranked first on the list.
Aina tämmöisissä asioissa, jos mitataan semmoisia asioita kuin yli iloisuutta tai hilpeyttä tai hymyilitkö eilen, niin tämän tyyppisissä kysymyksissä suomalaiset ei ole maailman kärkeä. Mutta silloin kun mitataan tätä elämän tyytyväisyyttä, niin siihen, me tiedetään tutkimuksessa, että siihen vaikuttaa semmoiset seikat, että demokratia toimii, että on vapaat vaalit, vapaa lehdistö.
Frank Martella is a philosopher and psychology researcher from Finland. He claims that the reasons why Finns are happy are that they have an overwhelming sense of community and connection. They help others, and they have a meaning in life. According to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development's OSED Better Life Index, Finland achieves better than the average nation in the areas of academic achievement, balance between work and personal life, environmental quality, interpersonal relationships, safety, and life satisfaction. But seriously, is it actually all that happy? 1. Economic performance of a happy country. Finland has a heavily developed, primarily free market economy with a per capita GDP that's greater than that of their southern peers, such as Hungary and Lithuania, and nearly as great as that of Austria and the Netherlands. The main motivation has always been trade. In fact, exports account for almost 40% of Finland's GDP. Looking back, Finland was doing very well at the start of the new century. Being the star of the internet revolution, Nokia, one of the most successful IT companies in the world, was based there. With 4% of GDP dedicated to R&D, it had the greatest rate in the developed world during the 1990s. It remains among the best in Europe, even if it has since decreased to less than 3%. Finland's economy was one of the finest in the EU before 2009, and the most severe stages of the global financial crisis didn't affect its banks or financial markets. However, the global recession significantly harmed local demand and exports, which caused their GDP to decline between 2012 and 2014. Luckily, in 2016, the GDP increased by 1.9%, signaling the beginning of the economy's recovery. And because of a significant increase in exports, investment, and consumption, it continued to grow in 2017, reaching 3.3%. After that, the COVID-19 outbreak and the aftermath of the Ukrainian crisis caused further economic instability in Finland. Despite 2023's negative GDP growth rate, many believe that this year will see a recovery. The GDP is expected to grow by 1.8% a year on average between 2023 and 2028. In addition to being a vibrant economy, what's the source of this nation's extreme happiness? 2. Happiness is rooted in the culture of Finland. There are many things that spring to mind when I ask you about the influences on your personality, perspectives, and opinions. One such influence is culture, and a major contributing reason to Finland's happiness is that the development of frameworks that promote happiness on a personal level has been done gradually and continuously. The World Happiness Report looks at factors like life expectancy, government trust, average income, social support, and personal autonomy that impact happiness. All of these things, a democratic government, quality health care, education, economics, and human rights, are results of social framework. It makes sense that they're the happiest. Finland's superiority in terms of freedom and trust adds to its happy condition. Finns have faith in their neighbors, public services, and their government. Furthermore, they frequently have some of the lowest levels of corruption in the entire globe. Both individuals and institutions have a high degree of autonomy. On top of that, Finland's ascent to the top of the happiness scale is not accidental. Rather, it's the policy's goal. The government there gives individuals the infrastructure of happiness in order to help them build their happiness. A reasonable work environment and labor conditions are something that most individuals must take into consideration. 3. Labor market condition. It's widely recognized for being amongst the first to advocate a flat working environment. That implies fewer levels of hierarchy between management and staff. Employee monitoring is often modest, and the organizational structure is intended to foster greater employee engagement and decision-making processes. This increases communication across all teams inside any firms. On top of that, it leads to a significant rise in workplace productivity and team camaraderie. But the most surprising part is that it's helped Finland create a flexible workspace, which allows people to work whenever and wherever they want. This is a relatively new trend in Europe, with many employees wishing for it. For more than 10 years, flexible scheduling's been pushed, and it's had an enormously beneficial effect on the Finns' well-being, as job fulfillment and the ability to preserve a suitable work-life balance are directly linked to overall happiness. Also, it's worthy to mention that Finland is the only developed country in which fathers devote extra time with their school-aged children than mothers, thanks to its commitment to closing the gender wage gap and its superb schooling system. Now, we should tackle inequality, which is a leading cause of unhappiness in many countries. 4. fight against inequality. Even in a time when the income disparity is widening in the majority of countries on the planet, the Finnish government has consistently tried to ensure that the needs of its poor citizens are met. While many countries continue to struggle with inequality, Finland vowed to make it its #1 concern. In fact, Finland's Gini coefficient is much lower than the average for the EU. Their idea of sisu serves as the cornerstone for all that defines a person as Finnish. While sisu is nearly impossible to translate into English, strength of will is the closest equivalent. It's a great illustration of this concept in many ways, one of which being its successful approach to ending homelessness. The country's groundbreaking Housing First strategy ensures a non-traditional solution to a well-known problem, ensuring that rough sleepers can eventually possess a home of their own once they acquire the necessary help. In addition to this, Finland boasts a social welfare system that's resilient and covers social services, healthcare, education, and childcare for everyone in the country. This approach guarantees equitable access to basic services for all citizens, irrespective of their financial status. Moreover, Finland has a progressive tax system, meaning that firms and individuals with greater incomes pay higher rates of taxation. This tax policy provides greater resources to support social welfare programs in the underprivileged, which helps redistribute wealth and lower income inequality. Another point that is worth to be mentioned is that freedom, along with the nation's many welfare programs, love of equality, and mutual trust is what makes the Finnish people happy. The idea that every Finn has to be free as well as autonomous shapes the nation's policies and reflect what it implies to be a Finn. So, will Finland continue to be the happiest nation in the world? Let's consider this carefully. 5. What about the future? According to numerous assessments and happiness indexes, Finland is in competition with a number of other nations to be named the happiest nation on Earth. These countries include Denmark, Sweden, New Zealand, Switzerland, and Iceland. Strong social welfare programs, low levels of inequality, a focus on work-life balance, a high standard of social cohesiveness and trust, and other similar traits all contribute to the happiness and well-being of the people living in these nations. These nations are strong rivals of Finland, which frequently tops happiness surveys and is acknowledged for having excellent living standards and high levels of satisfaction generally. Happiness is almost as high in a few countries as it is in Finland. In fact, one of these countries might surpass Finland at any point. It'll be interesting to see how the current state of the world economy influences the rankings during the coming years. Sweden's residents might be a little happier than those of Finland, despite the country being just next door and currently ranking 8th in the world, because their freedom of movement and amount of activity was not as tightly controlled during the state lockdown. Conversely, New Zealand, which ranked 8th in 2020, may unpredictably take the top spot if its citizens decide they genuinely enjoy being cut off from the outside world, having far stricter travel restrictions and experiencing economic downturns. We can only wait and see. What does happiness mean? A fulfilling career or living in a country where all basic needs, including healthcare and education, are met are important factors for many people. For others, it's about being a resident of Finland. Finland continues to set the standard in many different domains. We can only hope that other countries would take their example and give their people better access to healthcare and education. Other countries should learn from Finland's continuous improvements in economic and social well-being, education, and workplace efficient methods when figuring out how to make their population happier. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons and share your thoughts in the comments section. See you in the next video.